it's Miss Checka here for a little reading aloud. So we've been reading all of these snippets of books, and I have two here that we read the first parts of yesterday, and I kind of want to read one or both of them all the way through. So I opened the chat box to see, do you want to start with Esperanza Rising or Catherine Called Birdie? Hi, Tess. Tess, tell me in the chat box which book you want to read more of first, because I think I like both of them a lot. Actually, while you guys are typing, I'm going to grab my glass of water because I forgot it, so hold on. Okay. So, nobody has put an opinion. If you want Esperanza Rising first, then put ER. And if you want Catherine Called Birdie first, then you can just put C. Esperanza Rising. No, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, then let's do this one because I did like this one a lot. And Tess, you did a pretty nice job spelling there. Got ESP, that's right. And then you need an ERANZA. But the Z and the S is real hard sometimes to spell in Spanish because they pretty much sound the same in a lot of situations, unless you are from certain parts of Spain and they say C and Z or S and C differently because they lisp on some, which I think is real funny. Okay. Okay, let's do the thing. So when we left off yesterday, we had just read a little bit of this, and we had seen that Esperanza lived in Mexico in the 1930s. Yeah. Right. Because the first part was 1924, and then the next part says 6 years later. So that would be 1930. And that her family had a vineyard, and that they had like a kind of sounds like a big property and lots of people working there. Okay. It had taken every day of 3 weeks to put the harvest to bed, and now everyone anticipated the celebration. Esperanza remembered Mama's instructions as she gathered roses from Papa's garden. Tomorrow, bouquets of roses and baskets of grapes on every table. Papa had promised to meet, you know what? After I read this book yesterday, I ordered grapes for my groceries, and I'm just now realizing this book is made me hungry for grapes. Papa had promised to meet her in the garden, and he never disappointed her. She bent over to pick a red bloom fully opened and pricked her finger on a vicious thorn. Big pearls of blood pulsed from the tip of her thumb, and she automatically thought, bad luck. She quickly wrapped her hand in the corner of her apron and dismissed the premonition. Then she cautiously clipped the blown rose that had wounded her. Looking toward the horizon, she saw the last of the sun disappear behind the Sierra Madre. Darkness would settle quickly, and a feeling of uneasiness and worry nagged at her. So the Sierra Madre is a mountain range. So she can see the sun setting behind this mountain range. Tess, school starts tomorrow. Well, you're making a side-eye face, so you're not feeling super happy about it. What are you most worried about? Or is it that you're worried about it, or that you just don't want to go to it? Because first day of school is exciting. I know it's weird to do first day of school with a video, but you do video with me every day. We're fine. You'll have new teacher, maybe some of the same kids. It'll be good. But I do want to hear what you're thinking about it, because I can tell from that side eye face you were not feeling happy and excited. So I'll let you type, and I'm going to read for a little bit. Where was Papa? He had left early that morning with the vaqueros to work the cattle, and he was always home before sundown, dusty from the mesquite grasslands and stamping his feet on the patio to get rid of the crusty dirt on his boots. Sometimes he even brought beef jerky that the cattleman had made, but Esperanza always wanted to find it first, searching his shirt pockets while he hugged her. Tomorrow was her birthday, and she knew that she would be serenaded at sunrise. I bet I know what song it's going to be. Papa and the men who lived on the ranch would congregate below her window, their rich, sweet voices singing Las Mañanitas. She would run to her window and wave kisses to Papa and the others. Then downstairs, she would open her gifts. She knew there would be a porcelain doll from Papa. He had given her one every year since she was born. And Mama would give her something she had made, linens, camisoles, or blouses embroidered with her beautiful needlework. The linens always went into the trunk at the end of her bed for algún día, for someday. I moved the iPad. Otherwise, I would play Las Mañanitas for you. It's such a cute song, but on your birthday, people sing it to you, and it goes something like "Estas son las mañanitas que cantaba." Oh no, I can't sing. I have a terrible voice. I will look this up for you and play it for you, because it really is a cute song, and it's fun to know, because then when your friends have birthdays, you can sing it to them. Okay. Anyway. Esperanza's thumb would not stop bleeding. She picked up the basket of roses and hurried from the garden, stopping on the patio to rinse her hands in the stone fountain. As the water soothed her, she looked through the massive wooden gates that opened onto thousands of acres of Papa's land. Wow, we're not talking about a little vineyard here. We're talking about a really huge one, it sounds like. Esperanza strained her eyes to see a dust cloud that meant riders were near and that Papa was finally home. But she saw nothing. In the dusky light, she walked around the courtyard to the back of the large adobe and wood house. There she found Mama searching the horizon too. "Mama, my finger! An angry thorn stabbed me," said Esperanza. "Bad luck," said Mama, confirming the superstition, but she half smiled. They both knew that bad luck could mean nothing more than dropping a pan of water or breaking an egg. Mama put her arms around Esperanza's waist, and both sets of eyes swept over the corrals, stables, and servants' quarters that sprawled in the distance. Esperanza was almost as tall as Mama, and everyone said that she would someday look just like her beautiful mother. Sometimes when Esperanza twisted her hair on top of her head and looked in the mirror, she could see that it was almost true. There was the same black hair, wavy and thick, same dark lashes, and fair, creamy skin. But it wasn't precisely Mama's face, because Papa's were there too, shaped like fat brown almonds. "He's just a little late," said Mama. And part of Esperanza's mind believed her, but the other part scolded him. "Mama, the neighbors warned him just last night about bandits." Mama nodded and bit the corner of her lip in worry. They both knew that even though it was 1930 and the revolution in Mexico had been over for 10 years, there was still resentment against the large landowners. "Change has not come fast enough, Esperanza. The wealthy still own most of the land, while some of the poor have not even got a garden plot. There are cattle grazing on the big ranches, yet some peasants are forced to eat cats. Papa is sympathetic and has given land to many of his workers. The people know that. But Mama, do the bandits know that?" "I hope so," said Mama quietly. "I have already sent Alfonso and Miguel to look for him. Let's wait inside." Tea was ready in Papa's study, and so was Abuelita. "Come, mi nieta, my granddaughter," said Abuelita, holding up yarn and crochet hooks. I am starting a new blanket, and I will teach you the zigzag. Esperanza's grandmother, whom everyone called Abuelita, lived with them and was a smaller, older, more wrinkled version of Mama. She looked very distinguished, wearing a respectable black dress, the same gold loops she wore in her ears every day, and her white hair pulled back into a bun at the nape of her neck. But Esperanza loved her more for her capricious ways than for her propriety. Abuelita might host a group of ladies for a formal tea in the afternoon, and then after they had gone, be found wandering barefoot in the grapes, with a book in her hand, quoting poetry to the birds. Although some things were always the same with Abuelita, a lace-edged handkerchief peeking out from underneath the sleeve of her dress, others were surprising, a flower in her hair, a beautiful stone in her pocket, or a philosophical saying salted into her conversation. When Abuelita walked into her room, everyone scrambled to make her comfortable. Even Papa would give up his chair for her. So there's two vocabulary words that I really, really like in this paragraph, because these two vocabulary words give us two sides of Abuelita's personality. So one is propriety, which you can hear sounds a lot like proper. So Abuelita she behaves with a lot of propriety in a very proper way. And I guess in this paragraph, that would be like when she has a formal tea for her friends, and, she wears the gold hoop earrings and the respectable dress and so forth. And the other word is capricious. So to have a caprice is to have a whim. And it sort of implies that something is spontaneous and unpredictable. So like a wind can be capricious. So those parts of her personality are like, she has the flower in her hair and a beautiful stone in her pocket, and she says poetry to birds. Like, so she has a lot of whimsy. Okay, Tess, it starts so early. How early does it start? Are you going to have to get up? Are you going to have to go to sleep early and wake up early? My school doesn't start till late. We start at 9:20. Can you believe that? I'm so curious about what time y'all start. Okay, well, you're telling me that. Let me say, though, if you start early, that also means you end early. So there's that. That's not nothing. Okay, Esperanza complained. Must we always crochet to take our minds off worry? She sat next to her grandmother anyway, smelling her ever-present aroma of garlic, base powder, and peppermint. What happened to your finger? Asked Abuelita. A big thorn. Abuelita nodded and said thoughtfully, No hay rosas sin espinas. There is no rose without thorns, which is very, very true. There's a whole song about it. Every rose has its thorn. This part here also makes me, this is my mail going through the mail slot, sorry. This part here also makes me think about my abuelita and her sisters, because I learned to crochet from my great aunts, my bis tias, I guess. I love crocheting. I haven't done it in a long time, but during quarantine times, maybe that is an activity that I should pick up. And the difference between knitting and crocheting is that knitting is 2 needles like this, and crochet is 1 hook like that. Okay. Also, Tess, what time does your school start? I want to know. All right. Esperanza picked up her own crochet needle, even it says needle here, but it's actually a hook. Sorry, I just want to say that. And copied Abuelita's movements and then looked at her own crocheting. The tops of her mountains were lopsided and the bottoms of her valleys were all bunched up. Abuelita smiled, reached over, and pulled the yarn, unraveling all of Esperanza's rows. Do not be afraid to start over, she said. Esperanza sighed and began again with 10 stitches. Softly humming, Hortensia, the housekeeper, came in with a plate of small sandwiches. She offered one to Mama. No, thank you, said Mama. That's such a pretty name. Hortensia is a very old-fashioned name, and it means hydrangea, I believe. It's a flower. It's a beautiful flower. Hortensia sat the tray down and brought a shawl and wrapped it protectively around Mama's shoulders. Esperanza couldn't remember a time when Hortensia had not taken care of them. She was a Zapotec Indian from Oaxaca, with a short, solid figure and blue-black hair in a braid down her back. Esperanza watched the two women looking out into the dark and couldn't help but think that Hortensia was almost the opposite of Mama. "Don't worry so much," said Hortensia. "Alfonso and Miguel will find him." Alfonso, Hortensia's husband, was el jefe, the boss of all the field workers, and Papa's compañero, his close friend and companion. He had the same dark skin and small stature as Hortensia, and Esperanza thought his round eyes, long eyelids, and droopy mustache made him look like a forlorn puppy. He was anything but sad, though. He loved the land as Papa did, and it had been the two of them working side by side who had resurrected the neglected rose garden that had been in the family for generations. Alfonso's brother worked in the United States, so Alfonso always talked about going there someday. But he stayed in Mexico because of his attachment to Papa and El Rancho de las Rosas. Miguel was Alfonso and Hortensia's son, and he and Esperanza had played together since they were babies. At 16, he was already taller than both his parents. He had their dark skin and Alfonso's big, sleepy eyes and thick eyebrows that Esperanza always thought would grow into one. It was true that he knew the farthest reaches of the ranch better than anyone. Since Miguel was a young boy, Papa had taken him to parts of the property that even Esperanza and Mama had not seen. When she was younger, Esperanza used to complain, "Why does he always get to go and not me?" Papa would say, "Because he knows how to fix things and he is learning his job." Okay, let me take a little pause here. I usually start at 8, end at 4, but I'm not doing Zoom so I can sleep in. I said it starts so early since it starts tomorrow. Oh, I see what you mean. So it's not that it starts early in the day, it's that it's early in the summer. Okay, all right. Yeah, no, I see that. I see that. So the same principle still applies, though, because it means that when other people are still in school at the end of the summer, you're going to be out of school. And by the time the school year is over, hopefully all of this crazy corona stuff is over and you'll be able to get out and have normal fun summer when other kids are still in school. Because my school year doesn't start for several weeks, and that means I'm going to be teaching way into the summer. So it stinks, but also it will have benefits later. Anyway, it'll be good though. It'll be good. You've had a lot of time off. Everybody has had a lot of time off. I think it'll be good when you have something to concentrate on and work on. I really do. Okay. Miguel would look at her and before riding off with Papa, he would give her a taunting smile. But what Papa said was true, too. Miguel had patience and quiet strength and could figure out how to fix anything. Plows and tractors, especially anything with a motor. Several years ago, when Esperanza was still a young girl, Mama and Papa had been discussing boys from good families that Esperanza should meet someday. She couldn't imagine being matched with someone she had never met. So she announced, "I am going to marry Miguel." Mama had laughed at her and said, "You will probably feel differently as you get older." "No, I won't," Esperanza had said stubbornly. But now that she was a young woman, she understood that Miguel was the housekeeper's son and that she was the ranch owner's daughter, and between them ran a deep river. Esperanza stood on one side and Miguel stood on the other, and the river could never be crossed. In a moment of self-importance, Esperanza had told all of this to Miguel. Since then, he had only spoken a few words to her. When their paths crossed, he nodded and said politely, "Mi reina," my queen, but nothing more. There was no teasing or laughing or talking about every little thing. Esperanza pretended not to care, though she secretly wished she had never told Miguel about the river. So that was kind of a thoughtless thing. for her to say to him, right? Because he's thinking like, hey, we're friends, we've grown up together, we tell each other everything. And then she goes and tells him like, hey, guess what? I can never marry you because you're poor and I'm rich. Deep river that runs between us. That was a very thoughtless thing for her to say, in my opinion, because she was not really thinking about what he would feel like if she said that, right? You have a whole week and you can finish it in one day. Ooh. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Okay. Distracted, Mama paced at the window, each step making a hollow tapping sound on the tile floor. Hortensia lit the lamps. The minutes passed into hours. I hear riders, said Mama, and she ran for the door. But it was only Tío Luis and Tío Marco, Papa's older stepbrothers. Tío Luis was the bank president, and Tío Marco was the mayor of the town. Esperanza did not care how important they were because she did not like them. They were serious and gloomy and always held their chins too high. Tío Luis was the eldest, and Tío Marco, who was a few years younger and not as smart, always followed his older brother's lead, like un burro, a donkey. Even though Tío Marco was the mayor, he did everything Tío Luis told him to do. They were both tall and skinny, with tiny mustaches and white beards on just the tips of their chins. Esperanza could tell that Mama didn't like them either, but she was always polite because they were Papa's family. Mama had even hosted parties for Tío Marco when he ran for mayor. Neither had ever married, and Papa said that it was because they loved money and power more than people. Esperanza thought it was because they looked like two underfed billy goats. Ramona, that's the mom, remember, said Tío Luis, we may have bad news. One of the vaqueros brought this to us. He handed Mama Papa's silver belt buckle, the only one of its kind, engraved with the brand of the ranch. Mama's face whitened. She examined it, turning it over and over in her hand. It may mean nothing, she said. Then, ignoring them, she turned toward the window and began pacing again, still clutching the belt buckle. We will wait with you in your time of need, said Tío Luis, and as he passed Esperanza, he patted her shoulder and gave it a gentle squeeze. Esperanza stared after him. In her entire life, she couldn't remember him ever touching her. Her uncles were not like those of her friends. They never spoke to her, played, or even teased her. In fact, they acted as though she didn't exist at all. And for that reason, Tío Luis's sudden kindness made her shiver with fear for Papa. Hey, I just looked at the clock and realized that I ran way over. So, oops, sorry. But I think this book is pretty good so far. I'm a little worried about what happened to the dad. Tess, you're going to have a good day tomorrow. And I think that you should do something fun for yourself tonight to get, mentally prepared. So everybody eat your fruits and vegetables, and I'll see you later.